Hey, it's Jo, and in this video we're going to talk about anxiety and why we need to step into anxiety and not shrink away from it or try to hide from it or try to make ourselves safe. I've been trying to make this video actually for quite a long time because anxiety is hard to talk about. Talking about anxiety can make you a bit anxious and can make even me, even though I know better, try to perhaps move away from it. Even just before I started this video, I decided I had to have the perfect background for this video, and so I cleaned up the room and I moved things around and I rearranged all my Kermit the Frogs back there so they would be all right, so that I could, maybe not do this video. And I looked at myself, I'm like, oh, I'm wearing my Minecraft shirt, should I go get changed? All the reasons, all the excuses, because that's what anxiety does. And so that's why we're just going to do this video anyway, and we're going to talk about it. Anxiety is hard, and it's real, and it's there, and it serves a very important biological function. It serves a primal function. It keeps us alive. Anxiety can really be a useful thing. And the thing is, when we do get those feelings of anxiety, it's important to take a breath and figure out, is what I'm feeling useful? Does this serve a function right now? And is there something useful I can do about it? And the other big thing I have found about anxiety is that it likes to make your world smaller, right? You've got this comfort zone. You got this, try and get this on camera here. You got this bubble of what's comfortable to you. And anxiety, if you try to live within the scope of that, anxiety will make that smaller and smaller and smaller. And, you might be okay with your comfort zone getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I personally am not. I want my comfort zone to expand and get bigger and bigger, and to have more room to breathe and more room to be in this world, as opposed to less room where I bump up against the edges of my comfort zone more and more frequently. I want them to be a little bit harder to find and have a bit more breathing room. And when you shrink from anxiety, when you see anxiety, when anxious feelings come up for whatever reason it is, making a video about anxiety perhaps, and you go, okay, well, in order to soothe myself, I won't do that thing then it makes your comfort zone just a little bit smaller. It shrinks in just a little bit more. And so then you bump up against it more easily. And if your inclination or your reaction is to go, okay, I'm going to soothe myself by staying away from that thing that makes me anxious, your comfort zone gets a little bit smaller again. It's a really hard thing to step into anxiety. It's really hard to step into situations that are going to make you anxious. And I found that it's pretty much the only way to help reduce it. There are lots of things, there's several things that you can do with anxiety when anxiety comes up in your life. You can acknowledge it. You can say, hey anxiety, there you are. There you are again, old friend. You can know that it's trying to protect you in its own way, in its own sometimes, a bit misguided way, at least in many circumstances in our lives today. It is unhelpful. So you can say, hey old friend, there you are. Have a seat on the couch. Make yourself comfortable. You're going to be here for a while. I know you're just going to be here. You can't kick anxiety out. When you try to resist it, it's interesting. Anxiety is really interesting because when you try to resist it, when you try to deny it, it just gets louder because it's going to make sure that you hear it. It's going to make sure that you know that it's there. So you have to acknowledge it. You have to say, hey, there you are. I was expecting you. Right about now, I'm doing something I know that's probably going to make me uncomfortable. Of course you're here. Welcome. I know you're trying to look after me. Thanks for doing that. Have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. Kind of disarms the anxiety a little bit. And so it's going to be there. It's going to show up. So you're not surprised, you're not defensive, you're not worried because you're like, yep, this thing's happening again that I thought would happen. And you let it be. You let it be there. And you do the thing anyway. I make the video anyway. Or you go out to do the thing. You go out to the place. You go meet with your friends. You go try a new thing. In my life, in my personal life, I just built and launched a farm stand. It's so cute. It's this little mobile farm stand that I built myself with my own not very square hands. That has a couple of wheels, it's old bicycle wheels, and so I can roll it up and down my driveway. And when I have produce to sell, because my garden's growing right now, I can put it on the farm stand, and I'll roll it down the driveway, put the stuff on the farm stand, and my neighbours in my community can come buy things and put the money in the little box. And at the end of the day, I roll it back up the driveway and put the things in the fridge, and so what's left. And I did it because it sounded like a great idea. And so I looked for plans on the internet and I built it and I got it out there, and now I'm having tons of anxiety around it, tons of imposter syndrome stuff about, is my produce good enough, and nobody will like it, and this will be wrong, and this will be bad. And I'm like, okay, this is happening and I'm doing it anyway. So I could choose to be like, okay, well, this is too stressful and hard and I'm just going to pack it in, I'm not going to do it. Or I could have decided not to do it at all to begin with, because it's this new thing. It's a new thing I have never done before. I've never had a farm stand. I've never been a micro urban farmer. I have some beds going out and some actual rural property as well, but most of it is in my little backyard and balcony farm. We live, in a city, don't have a ton of room, but I wanted to try it, right? I figured, why not? I want to expand my comfort zones. And so I'm stepping into anxiety. I'm doing it anyway. And anxiety is showing up like gangbusters. It is showing up. Whew, big time. And I'm noticing it, and it's hard. And so I have choices, right? I have choices what to do with that. I can say, oh, okay, hey, anxiety, you are there. Yeah, of course anxiety is here. I'm doing this new thing I've never done before. I'm worried that people are going to judge me, that they're not going to like my produce, that they're going to find they're going to find slugs in the lettuce. They probably will. I wash the lettuce. It's all organic gardening. Not certified, but organic practices. And they're probably going to find some slugs anyway, because it's Oregon, there are slugs in the lettuce. And or they're gonna, I don't know what it is, it'll be too bitter, it'll be too tough, it'll be not enough, it'll be too cheap, it'll be too expensive, it'll be all the things that I could possibly worry about. I'm worrying about them, and I'm gonna do it anyway, and I'm gonna find a way to have fun with it, like I want to, because I want to do it because I want to share the food I'm growing. I love growing food. We can't possibly eat it all. Want to see if it's a viable kind of business to do. Love to share things with my neighbours, and nothing wrong with earning some money. Like probably the equivalent of $2 an hour at this rate. But so I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to let it be, and I'm going to move forward anyway, because I really think that's the thing that we need to do with anxiety, is acknowledge it and say, yep, you were there, and then keep going. Not to ignore it, not to dismiss it, but to keep having our lives. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want my life to be very, very small. I don't want to be afraid of everything, or afraid of all the people in the world, or all the bad things that can happen. Because there is so much, especially right now, there is so much to be anxious about. And that is so hard, especially if you are a sensitive person, especially if you are a person who is empathic, who is a highly sensitive person, who is generally attuned to the people around you, to the emotions of the people around you. Gosh, this world can be a really hard place to be in, and to live in, and to be authentic in. And so it makes sense if anxiety comes with that. And we have to find ways to continue living anyway. And so knowing anxiety is probably going to be there, and we step into it anyway, I think that's the way to go. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. I think that would be very cool. Please leave me your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe, all the good things. And I'd like to say a quick thanks to my patrons. Got a few new patrons, Marie, Megan and Christine. Thank you so much for joining me. Also thanks to Miche, Lauren, Char, Susie and Valerie. Thank you so much for joining me on Patreon, my little community that is growing over there. If you'd like to be a member too, you can click on the link in the description and join me and support the work that I am doing in helping you, hopefully, my goal is to shine the light on the healing path, my healing path, perhaps your healing path as well. One of many, many possibilities. And I'll see you in the next video.